Enterprise architecture in practice, cloud migration, microservices, and governance.
Modernizing enterprise architecture is hard. Competing priorities, legacy constraints, and compliance often slow the progress. In this video, I'll show you practical paths for cloud migration, microservices, and governance aligned to TOGAF and to ADM, architecture development method. You will get phase-by-phase actions, decisions, criteria to take into your architecture backlog, and migration waves. We'll begin with preparation and architecture vision, the TOGAF starting point. Preliminary and Phase A. Preparation and architecture vision. Preliminary sets governance, principles, and stakeholders. Phase A, architecture vision, defines scope, stakeholders, constraints, and high-level KPIs. As example, target outcome could be to reduce checkout latency to 95th percentile, less to 400 milliseconds, improve deployment lead times, and meet a specific compliant audit cadence. Produce an architecture vision artifact, problem statements, target outcomes, and a one-pager with high-level maps on your affected domains. Ensure continuous requirements management captures KPIs as your requirements. With vision and governance in place, develop the business architecture, map capabilities, and value streams. Phase 3, business architecture. Phase B of TOGAF ADM defines business capabilities, value streams, processes, and organizational impacts. Map capabilities to your business outcomes and derive measurable KPIs. Quick example on e-commerce mapping. Business capabilities would be your catalog, pricing, cart, checkout, payments, and value streams would be browse, purchase, fulfillment. Identify your stakeholders, owners, and impacted processes. Capture constraints like regulatory requirements and, of course, an output. Capability model, your value stream map, and prioritize architecture backlog items to a link directly to your business outcome. You can use weighted scoring. As an example, 40% business value, 30% compliance risk reduction, 20% technical feasibility, and 10% effort to prioritize. Next, translate business needs into data and application targets in Phase C. Phase C, information systems, architecture, data, and application. Phase C of TOGAF ADM has two streams, data architecture and application architecture. For data architecture, define domains such as product master, that can be pricing and orders, data ownership classification like personally identifiable information and flows. For application architecture, define bounded context using domain-driven designs. Service candidates, contracts, Open API for synchronous APIs, and schema register for events. Data ownership rules. Each service owns its source of truth. Produce artifacts, data domain model, canonical event catalog, and an application landscape with proposed microservices boundaries. Capture non-functional requirements. Availability targets, example 99.95% for checkout, recovery time objectives, and encryption requirements. Ensure requirements management stays aligned and tracks the changes. With the data and application blueprint set, design the technology platform that will host them, and that is Phase D. Phase D, technology architecture. Phase D defines platform, infrastructure, and runtime patterns. Managed Kubernetes, container orchestration, managed databases, API gateways, service mesh when needed, observability stack, and continuous integration and continuous deployment tooling. Specify reference architectures and patterns, representational state transfer, REST, for synchronous calls, event streams for domain events, and data pipelines for analytics. Define infrastructure artifacts, infrastructure as a code modules like Terraform, networking like VPC, virtual private cloud, identify and access management patterns, and approved base images. Output, technology blueprint, platform services catalog, and constraints policies to feed the governance. Next, Phase E and F turn architecture choices into candidate solutions and a migration program. Phase E, opportunities and solutions, and Phase F, migration planning. Phase E, identify candidate solutions and groupings, refactor the microservices, replatform, lift and shift, replace with software as a service, or retire. Produce solution options with cost, risk, and benefits. Phase F sequences work into migration waves aligned to risk and value. Wave 0, establish platform, IAC, CI/CD, security gates. Wave 1, migrated low-risk services. Wave 2, mid-risk. Wave 3, high-risk. For each system, record owner, pattern, dependencies, acceptance, rollback criteria, and minimum viable product scope to validate end-to-end. Use a dependency matrix and automated discovery to avoid surprises. Capture migration plan, artifacts, and timeline with checkpoints for architecture reviews and audits. Now we need to ensure that implementation conform to the architecture. Phase G. Phase G, implementation and governance. Phase G ensures implementations conform via governance and runtime controls. Implementation guardrails, policy as a code, CI/CD gates for SAST, which is static application security testing, DAST, dynamic application security testing, image scanning, API contract validation, and infra linting. Maintain a lightweight architecture review board to ensure requirements management track deviations. Provide compliance score feedback in pull requests. Site reliability engineering teams should offer service level agreements for onboarding and incident support. Operate a change log and provide consumer communication. Implementation governance must integrate security and manage architecture change. Next, we cover security and Phase H. Phase G, security, and Phase H, architecture change management. Embed security implementation. Run threat modeling per bounded context. Automate static application security testing, dynamic application security testing, software composition analysis, and perform container and dependency scanning. Apply data classification to drive retention and access controls. Ensure immutable audit trails for compliance. Phase H, architecture change management, formalizes how change requests update ADM artifacts, manage architecture versioning, and schedules architecture reviews. Requirements management feeds telemetry and change requests back to the ADM. To operate safely, teams need observability and readiness. Next, we will address operational requirements. Operational readiness and requirements management. Operational readiness includes monitoring, service level objectives, SLOs, service level agreements, and service level indicators and runbooks. Define SLOs per domain, example, checkout session 99.95%, and SLIs, payment success ratio, checkout latency could be an example. Implement distributed tracing, correlating requests across services, structured logs with correlation IDs, centralized metrics, and alerting mapped to business impact. Run pre-cutover tests, load tests, chaos, resilience tests, and failover dry runs to validate RTO targets. Requirements management runs continuously. Collect telemetry, revise requirements, and feed ADM phases to iterative refinement. Technical and operational changes require an operating model. We'll outline the organizational transition next. Organizational operating model and transition planning. Define an operating model aligned with TOGAF outputs, domain-oriented product teams, owning, build, and run, migration squads to support early waves, and platform teams providing self-service. Document roles and RACI, responsibility, accountable, consultant, informed metrics for owners, architects, platform SREs, securities, and compliance. Provide enablement, domain-driven design, workshops, platform labs, and security bootcamps. Use incentives, visibility, cost showback, and recognition to drive its adoption. Measure, iterate, continuous government. Measure success across business, adoption, operational costs, security, and developer productivity metrics. Examples: percent traffic on a new platform, mean time to deploy, mean time to restore, cost per workload, and audit pass rate. Establish baselines, pre-migration, assign owners, automate dashboards, and reviewing governance cadences. Use requirements management inputs to prioritize the architecture backlog and update ADM artifacts. Treat architecture as a living capability, not a one-off project. Quick recap and immediate next steps. Use TOGAF ADM as your guide, preliminary and phase A to set vision and governance, phase B to model business capabilities, phase C to design data and applications, phase D for technology choices, phase E and F to identify solutions and plan migration waves, phase G to govern implementation, phase H and requirements management to manage the whole change. Quick actions: capture architecture vision, prioritize backlog tied to KPIs, stand up platform MVP, run first MVP migration, and automate governance checks. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more. I will be sharing more TOGAF-aligned architecture, guidelines, playbooks, and so forth to make your architecture deployment easier.